Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Shared Experiences. And this is the project where I pull people from different parts of my life to tackle a particular subject that we all can relate to. For today's episode, we are discussing intimate relationships, a marriage or a partnership. And we have a wonderful couple as our guest. They are Chanael and Shawn Warren. Shawn was born in Queens, New York. He's the oldest of 3 children. He has a younger brother, 5 years younger, and a younger sister who is 11 years younger. He attended Penn State University and graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering. For the past 17 years, he has been with the same aviation company here in Cincinnati, and he has also been located in Boston. The first 12 was spent in engineering and the last 5 in product management. His hobbies include CrossFit, coaching youth sports, and binge watching TV shows with his wife, Chanael. Chanael was born in Gary, Indiana, oldest of 3 children. She has 2 brothers, 3 years younger and 14 years younger. She attended Howard University, graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering, spent over 9 years in product development in food and personal care companies, 8 years consulting for a small firm in Chicago, and today she's a senior manager in the regulatory department for a company here in Cincinnati that develops taste and scents for foods. Her hobbies include beach vacation and powerlifting, which is totally badass. They have been together for 21 years and married for 18. They have 3 children, Xavier, Zara, and Kellen. Welcome to Shared Experiences.
And thank you for having us.
And thank you for agreeing to be a part of this. So the first question I have for you is, tell us about your partner. How did you guys meet? Shawn?
You want me to start?
Yes.
Oh, that's all right. So we met in the summer of 1998, and probably neither one of us was really supposed to be at that internship. So I actually was supposed to go to an internship at a different company, and in the end turned that down and ended up going to this company in New Jersey. And she was going into her 5th year, so she really probably she should have graduated, but that's okay. It was all for the best. Yes. So that summer, while we were in New Jersey, I was walking in the hallway. And she saw me and she was like, oh, well, that dude he's kind of cute.
He had dimples.
Yes. And later on that summer, we were going to work one day. We were on the bus, and my wonderful wife is not a morning person at all. So and it's like a small little shuttle bus. And so I walk on a bus and I see her and I'm like, oh, I should go sit next to her. But she looks very, very, very mean and not welcoming. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go sit over here. She don't really want to talk to nobody right now. And so we get to work and then we get on the elevator together and she says, hi. And I was like, oh, wow. Yeah. She claims I gave a big Kool-Aid smile or whatever, right? So it's like, oh, hey, how you doing or whatever. And so later that day, she sent me an email while we were at work. It was like, hey, how you doing? I'd like to get to know you better. And technically speaking, I was in a relationship with someone else at the time. So my initial response was, hey, that's cool, but, you know, I got a girlfriend, can't really go do that or whatever. And so, you know, we'll see each other, we'll say hi, whatever, sort of casual. And then one day I was in my room during the internship with a bunch of the guys and they were talking. They were like, man, did you see that girl, Chanael? She is so fine. Oh my God. I was like, Chanael? Y'all think Chanael is fine like that? I was like, do you know she likes me? I was like, oh yeah, okay. Forget that girlfriend thing. Yeah. Forget that girlfriend thing. Me and Chanael is going to be a thing right now. So then, you know, we started talking and, you know, I was like, hey, you know, what are we talking about here? Do I got to leave? What's the conditions of engagement here? And so, you know, she had been coming out of a long-term relationship that she wasn't very pleased with. So she was like, look, I'm not looking to get involved in anything serious. I just want to sort of hang out and have fun or whatever, right? So that summer we were hanging out and we were having fun. And I think both of us would say initially it was just supposed to be a summer fling, and, you know, we were young, we were going to have fun or whatever. And then, but as the summer, I think, progressed, we both realized how much we enjoyed each other's company, right? So my girlfriend still lived kind of in the area. So I would sometimes go home and see her on the weekend. She would be going out on dates with other guys. But in the end, it was clear we were kind of gravitating towards each other. And so as we got closer to the end of the summer, even though we had both agreed we really didn't want to do long distance relationship, it was like, well, maybe we should rethink that. Now, I was the first to come to that conclusion. She needed a little work to realize that, you know, long distance relationship was in the best interest for her. And so I can remember there was one day, like towards the end of the summer, when she like planned out this like special date. Like, I can't remember, we were earlier, we rented a hotel room and she like cooked and had candles and stuff or whatever. So it was clear we were sort of clicking. I think even her friends were like, oh, you must really like this dude. Like, you really into him. So I was sort of just in my plan of trying to convince her that, look, forget about all the other stuff that happened. Let's go figure out how we go make this work moving forward. So I went to Penn State. She went to Howard. It was only like 5 hours apart, actually, on the bus. So it was reasonable long distance. So now here's where the story gets really good. So
It's a long story.
There's
a lot of details.
No. Well, we got time. You didn't say how long we have. So we leave that summer. We both go back to our respective schools. So her first visit to me happens a week or two after we get back to school. And she comes and she says, hey, so we're like, we come, blah, blah, blah. We're talking. And then we're like walking. I can remember this clear as day.
Very clear.
We're walking to Wendy's to just go grab something to eat really quickly. And then she turns to me and she says, I'm pregnant. And I was now naturally, so I guess I'm 20 at the time? So I was just kind of like, wow, okay. And so I didn't have any immediate reaction. I'm just like, wow. Her next comment was, well, I'm doing this with or without you. So you can go figure out what it is. And I was like, okay. I mean, I'm certainly was planning on the with, but I get the point. Right? So, you know, by this point, we've probably only really been like exclusively dating each other for a few weeks. But now it turns into, we got to figure out how we're going to grow this life together. She was a senior at school, so she was graduating that year.
I'm 2 years older than
you. Yeah, she's 2 years older than me, right? So she was graduating. I was still in school. I did a co-op at a company in Minnesota. So I was there for 4 months or whatever for the second sort of half of her pregnancy. And that January, I think she came to visit me MLK weekend. And so we were walking around in the mall and I was like, oh, look, they got rings on sale. Let's go get an engagement ring right now. Right. So she's with me in the store while we go and we pick out the engagement ring. And then we come back to the apartment and I propose to her and she starts crying, which to me was really funny. Because I was like, you saw me get the ring.
I was also pregnant and hormones.
Yeah. But you saw the ring, you know it is going to happen, whatever it is. And so we proposed there. And I don't know, like, how long do you want? Because it's a long journey, so I don't know.
And then you got married. I have so many other questions coming.
Yes.
And then we got married.
Yes.
And then you got married.
There was more before that.
What attracted you to him?
Yeah.
Well, he had dimples.
Very deep and very profound dimples.
We were 20 and like 22. Yes. Cute mattered. So the other thing though was as the summer went on, he was just easy to talk to.
Yes.
And so we got along really well at that point. And then I didn't necessarily date with marriage in mind, but I figured out later that I dated with, okay, this is what didn't work in that relationship. And this is what I need in my next relationship. And so, from my previous boyfriends, I had he can't be corny. He has to be motivated. And there was one other thing, like, and he ticked off all of those boxes. Like, he was smart, he was motivated, he wasn't corny, and he was easy to talk to. So
yeah,
it just grew from there.
So what do you like about being in a marriage? What is the best parts of being in a committed relationship in a marriage?
Just knowing you have someone to come home to. And with him, one of the best things is I know I can be myself with him. Completely, totally goofy, crazy, nuts. And he just will kind of look at me, laugh, and go on about his business and not, you know, like, he's not judgmental. He's very open just to me being who I am.
Yes.
And being able to be free.
And you?
Yeah, I would say the partnership and the companionship aspect of it is the thing I love the most. Like, I know, like, she would say, even looking at prior relationships, that I'm a serial monogamist. Like, I'm not one to really go and just date around and just be with a bunch of women. It's like, I need a companion. I need a friend. And I think that's the thing that makes us click. So, like, even back to that summer, we were like, well, even though this is kind of a summer fling, like, we're enjoying each other. We're friends. Like, so we'll be friends even past this summer, not necessarily thinking it would grow into anything. So that's always been sort of like a foundation for our relationship, is that we are really good friends above anything else, right? So I can come, I can talk to her, I can be vulnerable. Like, even, you know, I travel a lot for work and stuff like that. Is like, but I don't like having experiences without her, because I want to have the experiences with my friend, right? So that's the number one thing I think about with her.
Awesome. On the other flip side, what is one of the most not fun, challenging parts of being in a marriage for you?
I think compromise is always not fun. It's like, sometimes you get on your, I want what I want, and this person doesn't want the same thing. So why do we have to, like, why can't I just do what I want? He tends to, most of the time, let me do what I want. So it works out.
A lot more than most of the time. A lot more than most of the time. A lot more than most of the time.
Oh my gosh. But most of the time, my wants aren't outrageous. So
most of the time.
Most of the time.
She knows where the line is. She knows how to walk up to the line and say, okay, now I might be going too far. Yes. Yeah.
Anything for you in terms of the challenging parts of
the challenge for, you know, the thing that I know I don't really do that all that well today, so I should do it better. But like, when she does something, like communicating when I am upset about something, right? It's like growing up, my parents had a pretty, like, abusive relationship to each other, a lot of fighting and yelling, arguing stuff. So my natural tendency is to never engage in arguments or complaints. So I will hold stuff in very often, but she always gets worried. Like, one day I'm just going to explode, and I'm going to be like, remember that thing in 2002? And in 2006 you did
gonna
this,
tumble out all at once.
It's just all
and I'm going to be like, if you had
time.
told me all along, we could have made adjustments.
Yes. Yeah. And I always struggle with the balance of, like, sometimes it's something that is, like, small enough where it's like, okay, I almost know I'm just kind of in my feelings right now, and give me a day and I'm gonna get over it. Then sometimes I probably should say something, because she might do it again and again, and then I'm really going to get irritated. And being comfortable with the fact that we might have a disagreement or an argument and be able to move forward. So that I still find is one of the.
Are you related to Karen and Salmon in any way? So on our bathroom mirror, I literally have to write on a sticky note 24-hour rule. If 24 hours roll over and it's still nagging at you, you have to communicate it to me.
Yes.
That's a good rule.
That's a good rule.
On the mirror, like in the bathroom, when he washes his face, he looks up, 24-hour rule.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm good if it's gone.
Yeah.
And that's good. And actually,
because I'm fine with thinking about why you're really upset, because everything, like, if you do it immediately, then it's not necessarily getting at what you are really upset about. So it was like, I'm fine with the moment of thinking, and, like, let me come to the conclusion of, am I really mad, or is it just like my day got to me and this one thing bothered me? But, like, 3 weeks later, it shouldn't be still
nagging at you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because then he will get upset with me over something very small, but it was never about that, because something was snowballing from something else, and it's really not good. So, what did you learn about yourself from your previous relationships?
From the previous, I learned a lot about what I don't like. which things did not make me happy.
Your deal breakers and stuff.
Yeah, deal breakers, definitely. And I think, well, and one thing about previous relationships and in this one, I learned that I was selfish. Like, I'm very much like, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. This is mine, and not into like sharing. Yeah, I know that.
Wow.
So I have to work on that.
I'm gonna get a copy of this video, right? Like,
You're gonna
wow.
get a copy. Yes?
Yeah.
Oh, what did you learn about yourself?
Well, I learned about Chanael that she admitted that she's selfish. Like, I might need a minute to think about what I learned. You know, like, I think probably the thing I learned in some of my other relationships is I need someone who helps sort of temper and manage sort of my emotions. Like, I'm prone to go 0 to 60 really quickly, and having that person who knows how to sort of like keep me calm and just sort of like calm me down. And then I think that companionship piece, like, I really like being around people in general who are fun to be around. I think the thing that is most attractive about a woman is having a great personality and someone who you really enjoy to be around. So, I mean, she's obviously a beautiful woman, but at the end of the day, I gravitate to her aura and her personality and just how cool she is. And I recognize how other people do it too. And I always find it sort of fascinating because she considers herself an introvert and not really a people person, but people are always like gravitating to her and they want to be her friend and want to talk to her and tell her their problems and, you know, confess their lives to her. So
Understood. Is there a mistake that you made that you're glad you made, right? That you learned from? Any?
I think in the beginning, there was a struggle for us both. And, you know, when you're growing up, especially in Black households, and we're taught to be independent women and that, you know, a man is a complement to your life, but you need to have your own and be able to do for yourself. And so in the beginning, I'm an engineer, he's an engineer. We're both, you know, in jobs and careers where we can grow. And people were telling me, you can be a manager, you can do this. But then we had 3 kids and it was like just a struggle. So I'm like looking at him, you have to help. If I'm doing the cooking, then you need to do the dishes and you have to take the kids and I'll pick them up. And it was just a constant, like, right. Yeah. Struggle. And then at some point I realized that the work thing wasn't what I wanted to do. It was like, making money's good, but it's not like I need to climb the ladder. It makes me fulfilled. And we discussed it and I quit. And it was like a total change in our relationship. The power struggle was gone. It was like, okay, I'm home with the kids and I work part-time, but it was, if a kid is sick, I'm home. If a kid needs to go to the doctor, I'm taking them. And it made a huge difference just in like the way we related to each other, and it made it better. So I think going through that struggle and then like realizing it doesn't have to be like this, and I could define like who I was without the outside world saying you have to be this, made a difference for us.
We're going to come back to that because I have a follow-up question. Just in case you had one, a mistake that you made that you were glad you made. Is there anyone you want to share?
So I don't know if there was a mistake I'm glad I made, but I know from the early parts of our relationship. So at one point in time, I had cheated in the early years, and then just some of the struggles kind of somewhat tied to what she said over the independence and you're more of a compliment. And like our first 5 or 6 years were really hard in our relationship. So, but I'm really glad we went through that period because I think it helped us get to a place where we sort of acknowledged, you know, like we're not doing this because we have to do this. We're doing this because we want to do this. And that, hey, we're committed and we're in this for the long haul, right? Which I think helps us, even when we talked about problems and other stuff, a lot of the things are small things because it's about Team Warren from now till infinity, right? So helping us get to a place where we were committed to each other and we sort of acknowledged, like, look, if I wanted to get out, I had my chances to get out before this point. but we're in, so we're in. There's no getting out now. Let's go make this work and make it grow.
Okay. So I'm going to selfishly come back to this one because I don't know if I'll ever be at the place where I can, and I know there's females in my audience that follow me can relate, to actually depend on another is like curse words don't even begin. I don't even know if there's a space in my brain that can even accept the idea than to actually execute the idea.
That was hard. It was really, really hard. But the one thing that I know and love about Shawn is that he's dedicated to his family. And I knew that he is dedicated to his family. And so if it left me and the kids in a bad position, he's not going to do it. And I just had to, it was an exercise in building trust.
Yeah.
But it took a long time, and it was a work for not just like being dedicated to him and working through that part, but just being okay with, not meeting society's expectations of this is what you're supposed to do and what you're supposed to, And
so, not to me to cut you off. So for me, I'm like, I shaved my head. I'm like, it's not about society. Mm-hmm. It's literally inside of me. It's almost as if I am leaving myself open and vulnerable at a point.
And you are.
And to give that trust to someone else, Shawn, I must let you know that is not easy. Mm-hmm. It's like it takes, I was telling Karen that it's not even about him as much as I'm like, if I give you that responsibility, can you carry that weight? Because my expectations of people are high enough than to even surrender that to someone else. That is huge. Kudos to you.
Yeah. And I would just say it's one of the things I admire about her the most, because I know it's not easy, and people tell her all the time, well, you could be doing this, or you should be doing this or that. And the confidence to just say, well, I'm going to do the thing. And that's the thing we talk about all the time, is just like, do the thing that makes you happy. Focus on the thing that makes you happy. And I'm going to be there right with you, and I'm going to support you wherever it is. So when she did a real estate investing thing and she quit, and then she went back to work. Now she's trying to, she talked about trying to quit again, but, she didn't get too much back and forth. So it's like, no, now you got to live with the decisions you made. So you got to keep working for a little while. Then maybe we'll revisit it. But, just like, look, I will be here for you. I will be here for the family. That won't be the issue. But look, I'm giving you the opportunity to just focus on whatever it is going to make you happy. Not everybody gets that chance. Take advantage of that.
So, Shawn, I'm going to piggyback on what you said in terms of the mistake that you made in terms of cheating. So my husband and I, we've known each other since we were 9 years old, and we've been together now for going on 17 years. And we've had different points where you're like, you know what, there's things that I need that I'm not getting from you. Because at that point in time in our marriage, I thought that Karen should be my all and all, right? He's supposed to complete my sentences. He's supposed to just be everything. And we have come to a point where I'm like, okay, so if I'm not getting this from you, should we see other people? And there's many times that we're like, hey, I'm just going to see someone else. I can't be bothered. So you actually walked the walk of actually, as you said, cheating. What did you learn from doing that and coming back to your marriage?
Yeah. So I would say it's a few things there. So first and foremost, just something that is really important, is probably the number one thing that matters to me most, is to be a great husband and a great father. Really, like, I didn't have that growing up. I didn't see that growing up. So it's like the number one thing that centers me in my life, is to be a great husband and a great father. So, and when we met, I was 19 going on 20. I turned 20 that summer, right? But I hadn't really had very many relationships before I met her. So that was a bit of the struggle. And the infidelity wasn't as much about that as much as, like, I would say, anger in the relationship that we had. But coming out of that experience, I almost lost her. Like, even though we were engaged, it was literally like, okay, we could not be together. We were talking about not being together. My vision of what my life would be, of having my wife and all of my kids in the same place, would that turning into having a co-parent and stuff, right? So coming that close to losing her, I think helps frame when I thought about the rest of my life. Or, look, I don't believe any man who says, look, they never see a woman or they never experience any temptation. I think that's nature. That is natural. It's like, but the first thing that comes to mind is, well, what would I lose if this happened, right? What, losing my wife, losing my kids, how would I have to explain this to people, all for this momentary transgression of pleasure? Is like, well, is it really worth it, right? So the first thing is, look, I don't ever want to do anything to jeopardize my relationship. She knows how important it is for me to make her happy. So that vision of seeing the tears and the pain and the hurt in her is something that I carry with me to kind of say, that's not a place I want to go down. I think the other side of that is, though, and I think for both of us, is we put a huge amount of emphasis on making sure we are great with each other, sometimes even before the kids, right? Like, you talk to the kids now, they will tell you, yeah, my mom and dad are out there living their best lives, right? They going out, they go on dates, they go on vacations without them. Like, look, it's not unusual to just lock the door and be like, "Hey, I know the kids in the house. We're gonna go handle some business, right?" But that focus on like keeping it young and fresh and making sure that like, she's my wife, but she's also my girlfriend too. Like, I'm still dating her. I'm still trying to court her. I want to make sure that she knows that if something ever happened, I want to be able to say I did everything I could to make that woman happy, right? So let's focus.
What is the most important thing to you in a relationship? Do you have a deal breaker?
Yes. We talked about it before. The cheating thing, I think we could get past, and we've seen some of our friends like in relationships actually work through and get past it. If there's another baby, that would be a deal breaker for me. And part of the reason why we're together and why we work hard at our marriage is because I've seen what the co-parenting looks like and the struggles that people have with like ex-wives and stepkids, and just how hard it is to bring a blended family together. And so we are blessed in that it's us and all three kids belong to us, and we don't have any outside influences on our marriage. And I think that if we had an outside influence on our marriage and in the form of a child, that wouldn't go away. It's just a constant reminder. And even if the baby didn't do anything the baby didn't do anything, but it's a reminder. So I think that would be one thing that would be really hard for me to get past. Yes.
What's your deal breaker, Shawn?
I would have said I didn't have one, but if that happened, yeah, that would be a problem. If she got pregnant by another dude, I was like, oh yeah, that's a bad look. Oh man, yeah. I don't think I could do that. But even if it was, like, I can't think of anything other than infidelity. But even in infidelity, it would probably depend on the situation. Like I work a lot and I travel a lot. So if she said she cheated because I wasn't around, I would probably be really angry. It's like, well, I'm not around because I'm providing for the family. Like, you're holding against me the thing I'm doing. Yeah. Right? But if I felt like I wasn't putting in the time or something like that, and I self-examined that and said, well, some of this is on me because I wasn't being the best husband, then yeah, I think that's something we can
it depends for you.
Yeah.
It's not a deal breaker.
Depends.
All right. So this is my favorite question. What is one misconception you had about marriage that now you're walking and you're like, that wasn't right. That nothing like I thought it was going to be.
I don't know if I had I know what his misconception was, but I don't know if my parents are still together. They've been married for like 40 years. And so I kind of, but I mean, they didn't have like happy, loving, let's be together all the time, go on vacation kind of marriage. So I saw their struggles in like communication and the way that they kind of interacted, and knew that I didn't want that. And so went into our marriage with a very clear vision of, this is what I don't want to do. which is why I like, you have to talk to me when you have a problem. You can't not talk to me. We're going to talk about it eventually. And I think we went into it with the whole thing of not yelling and screaming at each other, you know, just that how we interact. And so I had a vision of what I didn't want and a very clear vision of kind of what I did want. Mm-hmm. And I think we've made that happen. I tell other people, though, that their misconceptions of marriage is that it's like passion and wonderful and, I love you all the time.
Just like the movies.
Like, and sometimes you come home, you say hi, you sit on the couch and you watch TV, and that's the end of the day. Like,
that's a great day.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like sometimes it's boring, sometimes it's fabulous, but you have to be in it for both.
Yes.
Mm.
What's
my
He thought that he was just going to get married and be with the woman and make it work no matter what. And he didn't think he would actually be happy.
Yes, I did not believe marriage was like a happy. I think I even said it in my wedding vows. It was just like, yeah, I thought you just got married and then you just sort of coexisted, and that's what marriage was.
So why did you want it?
Huh?
So why did you want it?
Because that's what you were supposed to do. Yes. Because you're supposed to be a husband and a father. Yes. So I just thought it was, it was just part of the process. I didn't really think marriage was going to be a thing where it would be like, oh, this person is my friend and I love them and we're having fun and I enjoy their company and I'm happy. Like,
so this is a surprise.
Happy.
So this is a pleasant.
It's a pleasant surprise. I tell her that all the time. Yes, we're blessed. I didn't know this was what life could be like.
Okay. All right. I don't know if you've shared this before, but I'm going to ask, right, to walk us through one of the most challenging seasons of your marriage, and that tested both of you. And what did you get, and how did you get through it? I don't know if you already answered that before, if there was another challenging season.
Well, I think he didn't elaborate on the whole beginning of it because he was still in school. I had graduated. We had a baby. So I was living in Chicago while he still was in Pennsylvania. So we were long distance. He was mad at me because he thought that I should have chosen a job that was closer to him so that he could be more involved in
why did you not choose?
Saviors? Because one, I think I was still a little like, is this really going to work? And then two, I had a baby, and if I had chosen the job that was closer to him when he wasn't there, I would have been alone. Yes. And so where I went was 45 minutes from my family. So it was, if I needed help, someone was close enough to come, help. And that upset him. So, and he was very resentful. And then we were long distance. So
I can see that he let go. He totally let that go.
It's a long time ago. 20 years ago. It's okay.
So just the distance, the resentfulness, then the cheating, that was just like a whole, and the baby in the midst of all that was it was a lot, and it was challenging, and it was tough to get past in the beginning. And that was all before we even got married. So like making it to the altar was a big, big, big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would because even after we got married, it colored our relationship, I think, for the first few years. Beyond how do we, now we both got jobs and we're trying to fit each other's lives together. There was people who I still knew at school. Like there were girls who I still knew at school I would talk to. And it was like, anytime I had any interaction with a female, it was like, oh, why are you talking to this person? These women want you. Yeah, I don't know this person. Yeah, so I had to cut some women out of my life.
No new friends.
Yeah,
We're
I
not
had to
doing
cut some
new
women
friends.
out of my life, right? So yeah, that's why I talk about like for those first probably 5 to 7 years of our relationship, there was a lot of that going on. Yes. And then we sort of got to a place where it was like, all right, we're going to get past that. And that became sort of the turning point of, look, we are truly committed to each other and we're going to go make this work, and sort of building it up from there.
So I have to ask her, so how did you get out of that period where you're like, the girls, because we know when they want you. You guys are so clueless. Say it again. You guys are so clueless.
Say that all the time. They're like, no, she doesn't.
We've had this
exaggerate. You exaggerate.
And he's like, you don't trust me. I'm like, dude, it's not about you. The fact that you're walking in the situation so blinded and naive makes me worried that you don't got your feelers on. But we know, but they want you all the time. We know. We can feel it.
Conversation.
That intuition in the gut. We know.
Yeah.
So let's talk, girl, in terms of the journey, in terms of how did you get comfortable as he progressed? So he is amazingly fine and talented and yes. So how did you get comfortable with that? And he travels a lot.
Sometimes I'm still not. So, well, and the problem that we have is that he is like, oh no, we're just friends. And I'm like, we don't know. Like,
I'm just personable. Like,
and you're super charming, which is great. And I love it about you, but then everyone else loves it about you too. So I just, I try to remind him, because sometimes his friendly is taken for flirtation. It's like, dial it back a little bit. And then I personally prefer to meet all new women. Like, I think it should be a rule that if you have a new female friend, she has to know your wife as a person, just like, even if it's still, because women can be treacherous, but like, it's different when when a wife is an abstract, versus when it's a real person. That
some accountability.
You've seen the family. You understand what this unit is. So,
and so that is a rule. Like, if I have a new female friend, to try to make sure she gets to meet them less. I recognize that about her. I know that makes her feel more comfortable. So I always try to make that to be the situation.
It's not even about you. Just to know. There's this thing, like you say, you met me? Oh, yeah? We're good? You're good? I will cut you.
Like, I am a real person. It's not an abstract person over there.
Okay. I love this section. It was very helpful. Share the trait when you close your eyes that you admire the most about Shawn. What comes to mind?
His determination and dedication. Like, if he sets his mind to do it, this man is going to get it done. So that is my favorite thing about him. Like, I know if he says he's going to do something, it's going to get done.
Yes. And you?
My favorite trait about her?
Close your eyes. What comes to mind?
What comes to mind? Well, see, I'm trying to choose between a few of them. I don't know which one I want to choose.
Out.
Yeah. So
she don't
one,
that's why I told him.
Yeah, I know.
She's like,
I'm so happy we're doing this because I'm actually going to learn why you love me. What do you mean? She was like, no.
He tells stuff and it's like all jokey. And I'm like, are you serious or are you playing? Like,
this is serious.
Yeah,
this is serious.
All right, so since I can't really choose. So one, I think she's one of the smartest people I've ever met. Like, just really, really smart. And it actually is a huge help for me, especially like when it comes to like stuff around the house, because I put so much of myself into work and I'm like mentally burned out that it's like when I'm home and I know she can solve all the problems and she figures all the stuff out. And when it comes to planning and stuff, just like she takes care of it all. She's absolutely amazing. Like, she is super smart, and I'll see her figure stuff out and be like, oh, I'm not even sure I was going to figure that out. She is very funny and goofy and silly, and I love that about her. And I love that I'm mostly the only person who she acts like that around. So it's like a part of her that only I get to see. But it cracks me up some days when I really need it. And then her like commitment to really, like, I don't know if my kids appreciate her commitment to the family, but I love just how committed she is to the family and just to Team Warren in general, to making that whole
I like that concept of Team Warren.
Establishment work. Yes.
I like that answer. Now I have it on tape. I can replay it every time I need to hear it.
You only have one question left.
Okay.
Yes.
When do you feel most loved? What's your love language?
I just like being around him. So we did the love language thing, and my
Yes.
love language is quality time. And so he'll know if I'm just driving to go pick up food or something. He'll say, "Do you want me to ride with you?" Yeah, just I want to be in his space. And people have asked him like if it's hard for me when he travels, and it's not, because as long as I can talk to him or hear him and we're talking, it's all the same to me. So we don't even have to be doing anything. Sitting on the couch, binge watching shows makes me happy. Just being in a space.
Yes. And I recognize it. I know it. So there are days when I'll come home from a long day at work and she'll be like, all right, I'm going to the store, and I'll be like, all right, suck it up. I got to go get in the car and ride to the store with her because I know she needs that quality time. And my love language is touch. So I need to be touched. I need to be caressed and held. So that's what.
So counterintuitive.
So
it takes
she knows she needs to come sit next to me.
For me to just be like, okay, I have to sit and touch him, because we can sit on opposite sides of the couch and I'm fine.
I'm fine.
In space.
Yes.
But he wants like
contact.
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
Real,
I can't believe everybody's love language isn't touch. I still don't understand why that's not the case. I don't understand. I was like,
can you tell?
Yeah. Well,
like it's mental effort. Like, oh, wait, we're sitting here. I should probably move closer and.
Yeah. Amazing.
How does that not make, that doesn't make you feel good when someone does that?
Your presence is all I need. The house, I learned this with Kara, and I said, you will come into the house and I will feel that he's home. And can you see we are at different levels? The energy of the home is different, and that's what I tap into. Yep. And again, when it's not okay, when there's something going on, the energy changes. I can't explain it, but that's what I need in my thing is once his presence is there, I'm good. Yeah. By the phone or whatever. Yep. I agree. So it's so funny. What he wants, he's like, that's not spending time. He's like So when I was talking to Shawn about this, I'd never dreamed that you would say yes.
Because you get the introverted, quiet.
Yes. And he's like, no, I'm like, what? She would? Because I approached him for another episode. So what made you say yes?
Well, one of the things that we talk about, we have a group of friends that are all married, long-term marriages, and people don't talk about it enough, right? Like young people and I try to talk to a sister who's like 29 and not married about what real marriage is like, because we have TV and movies and it's all dreamy and everything. And that's not what it's really like. But then I think Black people need to see working Black couples that like each other, that's not dysfunctional, that are making it work. And so here we are.
What made you say yes, Shawn? Apart from me saying, have this great idea.
Well, yeah. I mean, I love telling my story. Like, I think I live a blessed life. I was blessed to have this person come into my life, and I could have never dreamed as a kid for some of the stuff I went through that I could actually be here in this situation. So I love taking every opportunity possible to tell my story in general. And I do like telling our story too, because, beyond just the stuff you see in the movies and you think it's all wonderful, but that even as you're going through challenges, if you commit to somebody and you believe that there's something special in that other person, that look, we're going to go work through this because I know there's going to be something greater on the other side. Like, I feel like that was a lot of what happened for us. And I feel like kind of to a point that that's a message that needs to get out there more. And that, like she said, there needs to be more stories out there about regular relationship goals, Black folks out there saying, look, there are many examples of how we can go do this. We are out here doing this and it can be done.
Thank you. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for saying yes to coming on this little project that I have in my head and trying to make it come to life. And with that, I'm going to close.
All right. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Guys, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Shared Experiences. I pray that in this episode that you realize that whatever you are going through, you are not alone. And if you're walking marriage and a partnership, and especially if you're at that place that is a challenging season of your marriage, that you can get to the other side. I hope that you got some nuggets that will cause you to think a little differently, see things a little differently, and for you to be aware of who you are, what you want, and how you can make it work with your significant other as well. Have an absolutely fantastic day, guys. Bye-bye.